And whoever wants to join later, they will come.
Yeah.
Shall we tune in with Adgreneme?
Sure.
Come sit up straight. Inhale, exhale. And inhale for Adgreneme. Adgreneme, Jugadgreneme, Satgreneme, Siddhigurudeve Name. Adgreneme, Jugadgreneme, Satgreneme, Siddhigurudeve Name. Adgreneme, Jugadgreneme, Satgreneme, Siddhigurudeve Name. Inhale deep, hold your breath. Exhale. And welcome to this masterclass interview where we will dive deeper into the Shalok and the Japji. And we will talk today with Mata Mandir Singh, who has been the owner of the Golden Temple restaurant in the Netherlands for a long, long time. And now he's from the US, but now he is in Boysenberg in the ashram with Sadhari and the Sangat there. So, and Mata Mandir is an amazing musician. He plays, I think, all the instruments there are in the world.
Not all.
Not all, but
some.
many. And he has also put the Japji on music, and he has just this, I think, a beautiful connection with the Japji, and it's really lovely to share your experience and your way that it will be easy for other people to also relate to the Japji, because when people start doing Kundalini Yoga or yoga, they don't think that they, why should I read the Japji? Why is this part of it, and why is it important, and why is this a religion, and all these things. And yeah, maybe we can just bring some light into this, and whatever else comes up, we will discuss.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting take on that, because I discovered the Shalok a long time ago, how important it was, actually. Yogi actually said it. He said that to understand Japji Sahib, you have to study it from the back and work forward, not study it from the front and go backwards. And he said that because the Shalok is about life on the planet Earth. And we live on the planet Earth, on the physical plane, so it's where we are starting from. And Ekonkar, the beginning of Japji, is very high frequency. It's the origin of the universe, the singularity that was there before the Big Bang. That's what Ek is. It's called singularity by science. And Ong is that sound vibration that started the physical creation. So it's a very, very high frequency, very, very, one can say difficult to reach. Actually not, because it is inside of us all the time.
1 second, I mute.
Some phone is ringing.
I think you just can go on.
Shall I continue? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, I began to study the Shalok, because he said start at the back, so I started studying the Shalok, and I realized that it's basically the key to the whole path is right there, right in the beginning of it too. And so I actually use it when I do teachers training, level 1 teachers training, and I always teach the mantra and Nad Yoga part of it. So I always teach the Shalok. I always talk about it and what it means, and how, because it relates so profoundly to our human existence. It's as if somebody asked Guru Nanak, what's this thing about life on earth? Why are we here? And he said, Pavan Guru was the first thing he said. And I puzzled over this Pavan Guru, what does it mean? Because the translation you always read in the nicknames and so forth is that air is the Guru. And I didn't understand what that meant, air is the Guru. It didn't resonate, that meaning didn't resonate with me. And I have a Gurmukhi teacher and researcher that I consult with a lot. So I asked him one time, what does Pavan Guru mean to you? And he said, how we use air, how we use the Pavan, the air quality, is whether Guru is in our life or not. It's that simple. It's how we use the air, how we use the prana, how we relate to the Pavan. And so immediately it just was like a light bulb going off in my head, because I looked back to Yogiji's teachings and the teachings of yoga about the breath. And so first thing is, there's two things that we do with the breath, basically, isn't there? What are the two things we do with the breath? We speak, right? And we breathe. So the breath, by breathing, we are getting, of course, the life, the prana that gives us the ability to live. If our breath goes out or we can't receive the breath, then we die. And so, but it's how we breathe. And we learned this first thing in yoga. I think my first yoga class, they talked about that you have to learn to breathe long, slow, and deep, and breathe consciously. And I realized this is the key. As soon as you begin to do this, then you begin to have that intuition that the Guru starts to activate in your life, and your intuition activates. So this is very fundamental, and something 99.9% of people on the planet don't realize, that their breath is more important to their health, to their well-being, to their the way their life works, more important than food. Everybody has their opinions about food and studies food and how everything affects the body. Breathing affects it far more. And so that act of the breathing is very important. That's Pavan Guru. And the other thing is, how do we vibrate using the breath? So we can, if we speak earth all the time, we talk about money, we talk about relationships, we talk about the world, then that's where our consciousness is locked in there. But as soon as we start to do mantra and we read Gurbani, then immediately we're starting to vibrate frequencies of infinity. And so that completely changes our own vibration, our own frequency from the inside out in a very fundamental, on a molecular basis, basically, because sound penetrates all matter. And so it changes everything in our body and in our consciousness and our brain chemistry. So those two components, how we breathe and how we vibrate, that's what Pavan Guru means. That's the essence of the slok. And I was so amazed when I realized that that's what Guru Nanak's, his perspective on the world was, that was the most important thing to say, was Pavan Guru, that how you vibrate, how you breathe, that creates, that unlocks the Guru within, the most key. And so that's why I teach it in level 1 and teachers training, so that people can realize that these teachings are the most fundamental an important thing, and they relate to our daily life. It's not a thing about a religion, or we have to do this every day because we were told to, or anything like that. It's because these are the fundamental truths of life. And if we don't understand them, then we don't understand why we are here, and we don't know how to operate. And if you're going to play the game of life, you might as well learn how it works, learn how to operate it. Otherwise, it just takes you on a spin and you waste your time. So that's why I teach. So I found the slok, every sutra in the slok is an extremely important lesson of life. And the first one being Pavan Guru, which basically is the essence of Nad Yoga, and which is basically what I've studied and practiced my whole life. It's been my focus. So whenever I read Yogiji's lectures or listen to his lectures, or I read Gurbani, when I'm singing a Shabad, I'm always looking for those little tidbits about how Nad works, how Nad Yoga works, how sound works on the human being. And So that I found this analysis of Pavan Guru was so fundamental to what I was already doing. And so the slok is it was basically what I teach. That's why when she approached me about this subject, I thought, yeah, that's perfect. Because I think it's very important that people don't do Japji as a ritual, but they do it as a contemplation about how to live, how to find those tidbits and secrets and jewels that allow us to live in a high vibration. It's and Yogi said everything he taught for 40 years was from Japji Sahib. He stated that very clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. That it's not from the religion for way, but it's really, there's so much value in Japji. And if you
Yeah.
understand it.
Every line in it is like a jewel, and you can contemplate, you can meditate on it and learn it. I recommend, I think you said in the notes about what I recommend for people, how to approach Japji. I recommend to learn it word for word, because that's why I started with the slok. That's why I decided that I'm going to start from Japji backwards and work forward. I said, well, the only way to understand it is to understand the words, what they mean, not to read somebody else's translation of it, but to understand each word.
Wow.
And my goal is to know that the entire Japji. I know every word, and I still haven't got there. I'm 70 and not there yet, but it's a lifetime study. But even knowing the slok has helped me enormously in my life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I recommend that, to study Japji word for word. Go to the source of it.
Yes.
Don't rely, because translations are never, Pavan Guru, you can contemplate Pavan Guru and talk about and discuss it for hours. To say air is the Guru doesn't say anything to me. And that's how it's translated, air is the Guru. But you have to go into what does that really mean. So Gurbani is always written in code. It's poetry and it's code, and it has to be contemplated and meditated upon and vibrated. It's not a question of an intellectual, reading of a translation. It's something very different.
Yes, and how do you do that, Do you meditate, but also where do you find like teachers that can help you?
Well, I found a long time ago, we started teaching him Gatka. You know him, Dilbara Shah Singh.
Yeah.
The guy who came to your festival one time and taught with his son and taught Gatka.
Yes.
He's very knowledgeable of Gurbani, and he's very kind of radical. He questions everything, and he has some pretty wacko theories. but it makes you think, and it makes you approach it from like a new perspective. It's a very beautiful practice. So whenever we're together, we just discuss Gurbani, and we look up words, and we look up the origins of those words, and try to get to the essence of what the Guru was saying. So for me, he was a valuable asset in my life, to have someone to consult with who had a good understanding of the language. And he does translation of the old Sant Basho, the old language. So he's very, his father taught him these things, and he knows Sanskrit, and so he had a good background. So for me, that's been a very valuable resource in my life. And so that's one. And, I look at all the different translations and see what they mean. There's the Mahan Kosh, which is a valuable tool, the Encyclopedia of Sikh Dharma. And and then Yogiji, if you go through all his lectures, he would take words and say what they really mean. He would go behind a kind of obvious kind of preacher kind of meaning and say what it actually is doing and how it functions on a yogic level. And so whenever I read his lectures or listen to them, I always look for those where he's explaining a line or a word of Gurbani, and I try to notate those things and add that to so that's what I recommend to do, is just sift through the teachings, and you'll run into the right people in your life that will further the study.
If you're wanting to find the answers, you just have to ask the right questions.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes. This is right. Do you also the other ones, do you have a question for Mata Mandir? Because I had some questions, but please feel free to open your mic and join the conversation. It's not me. And
Yeah, it's good to, what we're doing is called vichar. Vichar means a group contemplation of, can be a line or party of japji or a shabad or a mantra. And then we come to a better understanding if we discuss and it's a back and forth, and if it's just a lecture or.
yeah. And also when Pritam Dharmasi made the celestial, and when you go through it, you really, she tried to stay as much with the translation, and then you make the movement. So it's like Pavanguru, Pavanguru, and then Panipita, it's like really the water element. And then it helps to understand the meaning and to go deeper into the meaning.
Yeah, yeah.
It's, I think that's a very accessible way to get the meaning, and if you want to go a step deeper, you can go and study it, but this is already, I feel it's a very nice way to get into the meaning of it.
Yeah, I mean, anytime we repeat a party, I mean, the system was to repeat it 11 times a day for like 40 days, 90 days, 120 days, or 1,000 days. That was so I did that a lot too. I would put different parties to music. I did Shalok also, put it to music. And I would just sing it 11 times a day for months sometimes. Any party that really spoke to me, that I really wanted to go into, then in the process of that, I would study it word for word while I was, in that process of singing it. That's how I kind of learned certain parties. I really have, I don't know if I can say I've mastered them, but at least they're really in my psyche and in my consciousness. And
right, yeah. And there's someone that really speak to you, right?
Yeah. So if you do, celestial, you do with it, it's good because you're moving and it's coming in your consciousness at the same time. So all these are good approaches.
Yeah.
Study.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend the 11 times a day repetition.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a very good tool.
Yeah, it's nice that you say that, because it's my favorite way of how do you say, doorgronden, better understanding of Japji. And I was also touched a bit by that you say it's good to start with Shalok, because the interesting thing is that at the moment we started this challenge with Shalok, I also started a new course with about Japji, and we started with Ekonkar, and it was almost the same day. It was the birthday of Guru Nanak, 15th of April, and it felt a bit strange. And where I knew Ekon mantra so much longer already, but because we did this Shalok, and I loved Shalok already before, but we did this music, and we made the video, and I made Celestial, and then it was so obvious that because of Shalok, I did understand so much more about, I don't know, it was like I felt so much familiar in a shorter time with Shalok than I did after all these years with more mantra. Yeah. So in a way, what you say, that you start with teaching Shalok in the level 1, I can completely understand, but just by my own experience, not by my head, but just like I thought maybe I should now make a celestial for a more mantra to understand it also better, but I don't think it's the same. So I don't know. I don't have any content to add to it. Just my experience, that I just was touched by you telling this, because it was my own experience in a way.
Yeah. I mean, all these approaches are good. I mean, I sometimes think about back in Guru Nanak's time, in the the gurus from the beginning, you know, Guru Angad, Guru Amar Das, Guru Ram Das, and what Sikh Dharma was like in those days. It wasn't like what it is now. Now there's all these temples everywhere, and the Sikhs have this, you know, their practices and their religious dogma and the rules, and all these things are all set down for some hundreds of years. But in those days, it was probably pretty much like 3HO is now, like we are, like very diverse people from all over the world. I mean, think about it. There's people practicing Kundalini in every country in the world, I think. Even Ukraine, in the middle of a war, they're doing Kundalini Yoga and doing Japji in the morning. And it's funny, Sarhadi was teaching them about Japji, and there was a couple of doctors working in this Bamut, where the city is being bombed so heavily now. And they're like medics working in the hospital there, trying to save people. And they said Japji just saves them every day. They live by Japji. So. So, you know, it's not that everybody has the form of Sikh or something, or that they're part of the religion or anything, but Guru Nanak didn't care about that. He was just wandering around, sitting under a tree in a village. His Mardana would start to play the music, and he would sing the teachings to people and get them to sing with him, and just raise the frequency of people and tell stories, and just transmitted the teachings in a very loose way. It wasn't, you know, it wasn't like a religious bureaucratic organization. It was just, and I think the beauty of 3HO is that we have that bureaucracy and all that stuff, which is sometimes more hassle than it's even worth. But in the midst of all that, there's some amazing teachers and some amazing students, amazing people that are just practicing in every country in the world and just raising the vibrations around them. And it's very loose, it's very disorganized, it's very sometimes big hassle, and but it's there, and you can't put it back in the bottle. The teachings are out, and yeah, and we are a part of that. So it's a beautiful thing, a beautiful process.
Yeah, I like that. It's also like the end of it when it's like this liberation, right? The Shalok is really about we're free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he states, I mean, one of the lines I like the most is where he says, Changyaya Buddhaya Vache Dharma Hadur, Karmi Apo Apani Kendare Kidur. Because we have this idea, you know, in the West, especially, that God is outside of us, right? That God is this man in the sky, and he's judging. You're going to go to some gate, and some guy is going to judge you, and you're going to go to hell, or you're going to go to heaven. This is the psyche that we grew up with. And here he's saying, no, it's your good actions and bad actions, you speak. When you die, your life, and they say people who have died and come back say that their life passes before them like a movie. And just like within like 2 minutes, your whole life flashes before you. And you yourself in your consciousness judge your actions and your words, and all that is, it's not that just some external God is judging, you're judging yourself. Did I waste my time, or was I sincere in my process? And then he says this very beautiful, karami apo apani kindare kidur, that those karami, those actions in and of themselves dictate if you feel connected to the universe and the force behind the universe, or do you feel apart from it? That your actions and your words in themselves do it to you. It's not like nobody else is doing anything to you. It's your own consciousness is creating your life, and your own actions are creating your life at every stage. Nothing is outside of you. Yeah. And he states it very clearly, the actions themselves bring you connected, or they bring you feeling separated. And it's such a beautiful, just a very clear teaching about what it is. And that's why I like Shalok, because it's just it's just right to the point of how we live our life. That's why I think it's so important to teach like beginning students in level 1 teachers training, to understand that Japji is inherently connected to, or can be connected to their life, and they can understand life through this his perspective. His perspective was so powerful and so radical also at the time.
Definitely. Yeah. Shall we also go over the other lines? I'd love to hear your.
Sure. Yeah. What do we have?
Is
Well, we were talking
adding to.
before everybody came in. We were talking about Divasarata Doi Daya Daya Kele Sagala Jagat. That the whole world, all of humanity is playing. And he used the word Kele, which means to play, in the forces of day and night, which is yin and yang, which is positive, negative, hot, cold. All those, the whole universe works on polarity, right? The physical universe. So he's saying, yes, that the whole universe is in, but he calls it a play. He doesn't say, he's not getting serious about it. He says it's a game.
Yeah.
And so we should play the game, and we should play it detached, though, because when you're playing a game, playing a video game or something, right? You play it, but it's, you can die in the game, but it's not, it's not really going to change your life unless you do it 24/7, become a vegetable from doing it. So life is like that. You should learn the rules, learn to play it well. I think we should learn to play well the game of life.
Right.
Otherwise, we're wasting time. It's like with instruments too. I mean, I play a lot of instruments. I like to play the guitar. And I could play like 5 or 6 chords and strum them like campfire music. But I decided, no, if I'm going to play an instrument, I should study that instrument. And tabla, I should study it and play it well, not just like learn a little bit and just get by with it. But why not become good at it just for fun?
Yeah.
And then if you do that in your life, then life is never boring. There's always more to learn.
Right.
Even with Gurbani, I mean, I think about Guru Gobind Singh, for the final version of the Guru, he stood and recited the entire Guru Granth Sahib from memory. And we have trouble. I know there's yoga students that for 2-3 years can't remember Rake Rakanahar, like one Shabbat.
Yeah.
So we have to open up ourselves to the possibility we can do so much more than we do. And it's fun to do.
Right. But also when you learn it early, because my kids, they can recite the Kirtan Sala by head, and
Nice.
it's so easy for them.
Yeah.
You learn it in such a quick time.
Yes.
But yeah, for me, it's where am I?
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, we all come to Dharma from wherever we are in our life, and
Right.
And we have our cultural trappings in the West that, we in India, even to this day, memorization is kind of an important thing in the education system and so forth.
Yeah.
And it is possible to memorize the whole of Japji and memorize the whole of the Guru. There's Baba Nahal, they have his group of Nahang Sikhs. I don't know if you remember Baba Nahal.
No.
He's a friend of Yogi. He's still alive. He's quite old. But they have a special turban. They wear the special thing that comes out of it, which means they have the entire Guru is memorized.
Wow.
So there's people still doing that. If you can imagine, how many pages?
1430.
Yeah, that's a lot of pages memorized.
That's a lot. But the beauty is it's on music. I think that's really helpful. It's it's in rhyme, so it's not whenever you put it on music and it has these different rags. I think this really helps them to know where they are and to still, of course, it's a major thing, but
yeah. I mean, memorization can be a trap also. I know people that have memorized Japji, and then so that when they recite it in the morning, they don't read it anymore. And they slide over all the pronunciations. Yogiji never did that. He always read it from his handwritten nickname. He would always read it, and he would read it fairly slowly. Every Sihari was pronounced, every Bihari, every Ankar, all the little diacritical marks and everything, he pronounced them all. This is called reading it in Nod. So if you memorize it and you just rip through it really fast, then you're not reading it not anymore. You're just like buzzing through it. So memorization can be a trap. So there's always, in every practice, there's always this dichotomy. There's always these like two sides to.
Like day and night, huh?
Yeah, like day and night. So,
Yeah.
you know, we have to do, but not get trapped by all these things too.
Yeah, right.
You have to do it unattached.
Yeah, yeah. All right. And then the lines after that.
Yeah, then we have, of course, the first line, we only talk about Pavan Guru, but Pani Pitta Mata Tarita Mahat. You know, he's talking about, I feel like he was the first, like really, well, not the first, I'm sure there are many people, but the fact that these elements of our life, the water and the air and the earth element, these are like sacred, these are sacred. They're not like physical things that we should be polluting or misusing or trashing, or we should see water as sacred, not just something to be used to throw our waste into. That's how humans have seen water for thousands of years. Like if there's a river, just throw your trash in it, run your sewage into it. Who cares? It's just water. But actually, water is a very sacred thing. Water actually holds memory. If you study the water books of that
The Japanese guy.
Japanese scientist guy, I love those books because water actually holds vibration and holds memory, and it's actually like has a consciousness. And so air is very, it has to be pure, otherwise it goes into our very inner being and damages us. So all these elements that we take for granted, we have to see as sacred. When we do that as humanity, then we'll solve all this global warming and all this climate change and all this stuff. Until we see those elements as sacred, I don't think we have such hope. I don't trust technology to cure everything. So far, our track record is mixed. Including this beautiful technology we have, the internet, you know, the fact that we can meet. I can teach people music all over the world, fantastic. I can learn from people all over the world. But we have this social media that grew out of this that allows falsehood to travel so quickly, and just masses of people can be brainwashed and filled with fear and all these things just on a massive level, and allows the governments also to like do the whole big brother control of people and watch everybody. So it's very mixed. There are blessings and there are negatives to everything. But this first line really talks to me about the sacredness of the elements, and you can meditate on each one of those elements. And then we go to then he gets to the end. Jininam Dhyaya Gema Sakatagal. So those who meditate on the Nam, and of course, Nam is another whole subject that you can, because what is Nam? That's the essence of Sikh Dharma, is Nam. It's talked about in every Shabad. So, and if you ask people, the definitions are very vague. But Nam is actually something that sings inside of us all the time. It's the Nad. It's the original sound of the universe, the vibration. Nanak says it in other places in Japji, Gat to Gat, Vajay Nad. Gat to Gat means in every heart, in every human heart. The Nad is Vaja. Vaja means vibrating. It's vibrating in every heart. And actually the essence of Sikh Dharma is to become aware of this Nad, of the sound within, and begin to focus on that sound. That's why it says become immersed in the Nam. So Nam can also be the mantras in Gurbani that takes us to, that makes our frequency match with the frequency of the Anahad, this unstruck melody that vibrates throughout the universe, also called the Nam. And so Nam can be the spoken words that connect us, that have an infinite vibration, or it is that sound current itself. And actually beyond that, there's nothing to Sikh Dharma. It's that simple.
Mm-hmm.
And he's saying those who meditate on the Nam, either the spoken Nam or the Anahad, the unstruck melody, if you hear that in your consciousness and you concentrate on that frequency, that's the whole job. Then it's done. Job is done. That's what yoga is all about. Yoga means union. It means union with that sound current. It means nothing else.
And how is that Nam related in Sat Nam? We also have Nam.
Yes. But what does Satanam really mean? Your
true identity.
Yes, these are nice like words that talk around it, but what is truth?
Yeah.
What is the ultimate truth of the universe? There's only one ultimate truth. And that's that this nad, this sound vibration, created everything and is our fundamental. If that sound goes away, the entire universe disappears. And that's the only thing that's real. The nad is the only thing that's real. Everything else is an illusion. That's called Maya in yoga. So everything we see around us and all these worries we have and all this money and governments and it's all an illusion. And so Nanak is saying, Jini Nam Dhyaya Gema Sakatagal. And so those people meditate on the Nam and they work hard. And I don't think he's meaning they go to work in a shoe factory every day. I think he means that they work on themselves. They do sadhana. They realize the control of the mind and to become self-aware, to do that self-work is what he's talking about. He's talking about sadhana. Nanakate mukh ujjale, their face, their mukh radiates ujjale. And I see it every day. I go out in Boitzenberg and I walk around the town and most people are kind of dead. Their eyes are dead, they have no radiance, they don't smile, they're not happy. I think most of them probably drink every day because life is painful for them. And you should just see that kind of pain and sadness in most of the normal people. And whenever you get to a teacher's training group or a Gurdwara, you see people that are singing and vibrating Nam, they have light in the eyes, they have radiance, they have spring in their step, there's something happened, they're fun to talk to. It's not everybody, but but I see a difference there, and I think he's saying that when you meditate on a Nam, your face radiates.
Yeah,
and then he says, what's that?
It's also, when you look at yourself before a yoga set or a meditation and after, you feel different, at least.
Yes, yeah, you feel it right away, don't you? I mean, it's so obvious.
Yeah, it's just this, if you have the connection with that truth within yourself, then the light shines through.
Yeah. So that's it. It's the yoga of awareness, the yoga of experience. And it's like Nad Yoga, you can talk about it, I can talk for 2-3 days about it, but it's the experience of Nad that matters. It's not all the theory behind it. And so we could talk about the vagus nerve and the parasympathetic nervous system and all those things. And there is science behind it all. There's some measurable science. It works. Now even they discovered the vagus nerve is like the key to health. The scientists are even talking about it now. 30 years ago, they didn't have any idea about it. The yogis knew it 2,000 years ago.
Yes.
And what's the best way to stimulate the vagus nerve? What is it? Anybody? There are many ways to do it.
Now, when you press in prayer pose against your chest, you stimulate nervous centers.
Yeah, there are many yoga postures that stimulate it. It's true. But there's something you can do without even like moving your arms. Something you do every minute.
Breathe.
If you breathe long, slow, and deep, immediately your vagus nerve is happy. It kicks into gear, and the parasympathetic nervous system kicks in and overrides the sympathetic nervous system, which is freaking out about everything and reacting to everything. So this is really the key to the vagus nerve, and it's scientifically, you can prove it. And there's so many things that affect it. Laughing affects it in a good way. Good diet affects it because it wanders all over the body. It's in the gut also. So if you have a good diet, a good chemistry in the stomach, it affects also your nervous system. Long, deep breathing, I think, is the most powerful, but also singing, chanting, very powerfully affects the vagus nerve. So almost everything we do, cold shower. I read this doctor saying, yeah, if you splash cold water on your face, this is good for the vagus nerve. Now I think about the Ishnan, our cold shower, how much more powerful that is than splashing a little cold water on your face. So they have a ways to go before they reach a full understanding of it.
Right. Yeah,
But almost everything we do in Kundalini Yoga is to stimulate the vagus nerve. It's fantastic. I'm so grateful to have learned these things like 40 years ago. As a benefit of these things in my life.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. And so Nanak's final line is Nanak te mukujale keti shuti na. Basically, Dilbar Shah said you go on a permanent holiday. That's what it means. Keti shuti na means you're on a permanent holiday.
I like that.
And you take many others with you, that you share that technology, that knowledge, and that joy, and you bring other people with you. Yeah. That's the end of the slok.
Yeah, your smile and your radiance lifts others.
And that's what works. That's what works with people. It's your vibration that works.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that.
So that's a sloka is very practical. Sloka is very practical. It's how to live life.
Yeah.
I say if you know Slok well and you know the one just in front of it, Jat Bahara Dirut Sunyar, also very powerful, where it really talks about the Amrit and how to distill the Amrit. If you know those two pauris of Japji Sahib, then that's all you need to know.
Maybe you talk a little bit. There's a lot of sound in my house now.
I don't hear.
I think, Kun, do you have a question and something to add?
No, only I want to add that that's what always fascinates me is that what all religions teach is that the most essential thing is the connection with your heart. Mm-hmm. What's in your heart is connected with all universe. And today I learn more that what is a little bit elusive, the naad, what means the naad, is the essential sound that vibrates in your heart. And last Wednesday, I took over a lesson from a teacher who was busy teaching the 10 bodies. And I thought, oh, this is an exceptional opportunity for me to put in the celestial from the Shalok. We are busy doing now these 40 days because it's connected with the Japji, the Sri Kurikant Sahib, as the 11th Guru, and with the green energy of the heart. So for me, it fitted all together.
Yeah. I mean, Yogi just said the distance is just the span of your hand from regular consciousness to higher consciousness, because from your navel point to your heart center, if you put it like this, it's just your span goes from one chakra to the next. So as soon as you get out of that lower triangle, you reach the heart center. That's where the spiritual energy begins to enter the human, and that's where, and this awareness of sound is fundamental. It's also in every religion. Spiritual path talks about it. In the Bible also, it's right in the Bible, no? It's a perfect statement of Nad Yoga is that book of John, first line of book of John. In the beginning was the Word, Word was with God, Word was God. It's talking about the sound current. It's not talking about human words. It's talking about that, what they call the Brahmana, the word that Brahma spoke to create the universe. That's how the Hindus speak about it. They say Brahma spoke the nad, the sound current. In Christianity, call it the word. Sikhs call it the Shabad, the Sabad. Yogis call it the Anahad, the unstruck melody. That concept, that science calls it cosmic radiation. They have also a word for it, two words. And that's actually, that is if you read the Shabads, you read, it's the main thing. If you read Anand Sahib, like we're so focused on Japji Sahib, but there's all the other banis. And if you read Anand Sahib, every stanza is about connecting with the Anahad, with the sound current.
Yeah, for those
I recommend jumping from Japji, then go to Anand Sahib, start to study that. Very powerful.
It also has 40 steps.
Yes.
Not just the 5 that we do, like when we are having Gurdwara, we do the first 5 and then we end with the Shalok from the Japji. So the Shalok is not part of the Anand Sahib. It's just, you take the first 5 from Anand and then we enter with, or we end with the Shalok.
Yeah. And there's a beautiful story about that Guru Amar Das, after he had written it, when some very simple guy like a farmer came and to his court, his gathering, where he was teaching, and he came in and he said, I've heard about these teachings and I really want to understand them. And so Guru Amar Das said to one of his Sikhs, he said, well, take him and let him begin to study Anand Sahib, teach him Anand Sahib. And so a few months later, Guru Amar Das was again in his court and stuff, and he asked the Sikh, he said, what happened to that farmer guy that came and wanted to study and I sent him off with you and I never saw him again? What happened to him? And the Sikh said, well, I taught him the first line and that was it. He said, oh, and he just got up and left. And so Guru Amar Das said, go find this guy and bring him in. I'd like to speak with him. And so the farmer comes in, and of course that line is Nanda Bhaya Meri Mai Satya Guru Me Paya. Oh my mother, I am in ecstasy, for I have found my true Guru. That's the line. Mm-hmm. And so the farmer said, look, I'm not a scholar, I can't really read, I'm a simple person. But when I heard that line, I just went into this state of ecstasy and that was, I couldn't take anymore. I couldn't take the rest of it. And so Guru Amar Das said, this is somebody who understands. And so sometimes a person is ready that sound current just activates and they're in that space, and that's all they need to do. Mm-hmm. Other people, we have to study and memorize the whole Guru. So everybody's at a different place,
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for sharing all your knowledge, and it really helps to relate to the Shalok and to the Japji, and again in a more, I think, like human way or practical way. This is really why we did this challenge as well, to really give you, the people that join us, to the feeling that it's not this religious, it's not this high level thing, it's really practical, it's really helping you, and it's there for you if you feel you're ready. If not, it doesn't resonate with you right now, don't worry about it. There will be a day when it will resonate or not, and that's also okay.
Yeah.
But really don't try to push yourself, see it as a game, try to learn it. I remember when I heard the Japji for the first time, there's like this part in the beginning where it says, how does it go? It's like the Liki Anal, and I was like, we always had to laugh so hard, because when you hear this in Dutch, it really sounds very bad and very dirty, and I was like, oh no, I don't want to I don't want to be related to that because my mind is not on that. My mind should be on meditation, and it's not like that. And I was like, and there were just a few of these lines that really hit me like that. And, but
That line is so beautiful line, oh, Nanak Likhya Now, means that the will of God is written with you, along with you, that as you live your life and you do your actions, because you are a part of God, that the will of God is being written by you as well as you living in the will.
I know, but when you hear it, when you hear it with your Dutch mind,
yeah,
it's like, come on, what are we saying here?
Yeah, there's always cultural stuff like that.
Yeah, that's like, I was like, oh, I don't know. I was really like pushing it away for that. But then, yeah, other pieces came together and I was like, yeah.
No, Japji is beautiful. It's a gift. It's a Guru Nanak's gift to the world to learn the game of life and how to play it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so people can take it or they not take it. Doesn't matter. It's a game.
Doesn't matter. No, just feel how it resonates with you. And yeah. Thank you very much. Is there anyone who has an last question? Should I have a last question? Let me think. Is there anything you want to add?
Well, you asked in the questions you sent me, you talked about my connection with Guru Nanak and the instruments that we use at the time. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I
because you
like
have
my
this beautiful
favorite.
rebab.
Yeah, my favorite instrument is the rebab. This is the instrument that Guru Nanak's traveling companion, Mardana, used to play. And it's a very special instrument. It's one of the oldest, most original Indian, we could say Indian instruments or Indians from that area. And I believe they were created by yogis because it's the exact model of the human energy model of the human body. It has, the original ones had 3 playing strings. This one happens to have 4, some have 5, 8. There's different ways now they've developed them, but the original ones had 3 playing strings. They had a main string, which was the sa, the basis of the sound current of the universe, the sa, basis of the musical system also, and it has a pa and a ma. And those are your playing strings. You play on them, you create different frequencies, right? And when we move the fingers, we make it higher or lower, it's creating a frequency. And then it has these little strings under it that we don't play on, but they're supposed to, these probably aren't tuned very well today, but yeah, a little bit off. But you tune them to the scale you're going to play with the playing strings, and they, through the process of what's called acoustic resonance, begin to sing with whatever you're playing on the playing string. So if I hit like a pa, then the strings that are tuned to pa start to sing by themselves, and it creates a special sound. Okay, very, very meditative sound, very beautiful. In this instrument, I can just sit and play for hours just listening to these little undertones and overtones and different variations of the sound that are singing that I'm not playing, but they're just singing by themselves. And it's so beautiful. Yeah. And these reflect the nadis. We have 72,000 nadis in the body that also, so whatever we vibrate in the Shushmana, in our central channel, which relates to the spine, whatever we're vibrating there hits this Ida Pingala, the sun and moon energy. These are the 2 others. So those are the 3 playing strings, Ida, Pingala, Shushmana. And they vibrate the 72,000 nadis represented by these little sympathetic strings, they're called, resonating strings. And so this is the energy model of the human body, that what we play, what we sing, what we say even affects all these energy channels in the body. So basically we are a musical instrument. And so if we vibrate lies and slander and negativity, then this is what we're feeding our nadis all the time. And if we vibrate infinite vibrations, then we're also minute to minute healing our body and relating to the infinite of the universe and being tuned in and in harmony all the time. So that's what this instrument means to me. And
you teach this, right?
What's that?
You teach classes online? Or?
Yes, I teach it, and I found now a source to get them, so I'm trying to get more people to play them. I'm not a big fan of the harmonium because it has no sympathetic strings. You can't bend the notes. There's a lot of things you cannot do with a harmonium.
Is it hard to
harmonium
learn?
was brought into India by the German and British missionaries because it sounded like an organ, so they thought it was, better. So it reminded them of church, and somehow it kind of took over in India. In one way, it's good because it allows almost anybody can learn to play it. It's a simple instrument, but it takes the magic out of some of it. I mean, some people play it very well. I play it very well. I love to play it too. But the stringed instruments really have that essence of the system of the body that we actually use minute to minute in our life. So.
And is it hard to learn this rabab?
No.
No, you said is it easier than learning the guitar or same?
In a way it is, because in Indian music there's no chord structure. So guitar, you have to learn all these different chords, and they don't necessarily make any sense for quite some time until you learn the whole music theory and everything around them. I mean, I love guitar too, but it doesn't have those sympathetic strings, so there's not that magic of sound. And so we're learning basically raga, we're learning tone scales basically. So once you learn that system and you can start learning it with the voice, and then you can apply that to the rabab. I didn't even study rabab. I learned voice, I learned the vocal, how to sing, and some harmonium. Then I learned some sitar, some esaraj, dilraba, these bowing instruments, sarangi I studied. And they all use the same raga system. So I already understood how the system worked. Yeah. And so as soon as I had my daughter get me a rabab in India, and as soon as I got it and I figured out how to tune it, and I just started to play what I had already learned on it from sitar and the other instruments. And because it's one of the most original, it's fairly simple. It's a folk instrument. It's not like this super fancy classical instrument. It's very tough. I can bounce it up and down. There's even a story of Mardana riding his down the river, like floating on it, to like save himself. He had to jump in the river with it, and he could float with it. It's a very tough instrument. And it's a folk instrument. It's an instrument of the people. So all these other fancy, like sitar, are very fragile. You can only play them in concert halls, and they're hard to carry around. They're very big and fragile, and they're made for like concerts. So the rabab was meant to be just lugged from village to village, and they made even very small ones. And I have 2 or 3 now, and so I like to teach it. I like to put it in people's hand and get them starting to play it, and that's one of my missions in life, is to get more rabab players around.
Good. I'm gonna ask the question: can you play a little bit, or is it not tuned now?
It's the major strings are probably tuned well enough to play something on.
Or you can play your Shalok on it, or I don't know if you have it on this, or something else. But I love the sound of this. I don't know if you have heard it before, but it takes you right into this meditation space.
Siri Guru Sahib Sabha Upara, Siri Guru Sahib Sabha Upara, Manna Bacha Karam Sevi Sacha, Manna Bacha Karam Sevi Sacha, Siri Guru Sahib Sabha Upara, Siri Guru Sahib Sabha Upara, Mana Bacha Karam Sevi Sacha, Mana Bacha Karam Sevi Sacha.
it really touches the heart, right?
Yeah. And it's the thing I like about it, it's very rhythmic. So, like bowing instrument, the harmonium has no rhythm, so you have to have a drum, a tabla with it, or some drum. And this you can, your fingers can just dance on it and play all kind of. Yeah, the little strings aren't tuned. So it's just contained in itself. It has everything. Every element of music is in it. It's like the essence of Indian music. So this is what I do. This is how I spend my day.
Yeah, it's lovely. And you teach this online, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's good to
Also
have a lesson or
guitar,
two in person, because rababs are not like guitars where you go in the shop and you buy and it's totally ready to play. They often come and the pegs won't stick. You try to tune it and they keep slipping, and so you have to put this chalk powder in them, and sometimes you have to sand them down, and sometimes you're trying to tune it and the strings break, so you have to replace the string. So you have to fight with the thing for a week or two to get it ready to play. And yeah, so it's good to have in-person lesson and get the rabab like into playing shape and show the basic technique. And then after that, there's a lot that can be done on Zoom with occasionally an in-person lesson. That's the best.
And where did you live? Because I heard a German word, but I didn't understand it very well.
Yes, I'm living currently in Boitzenburg, Germany, which is east of Hamburg. So it used to be part of East Germany. It's a little village, little village on the Elbe River. Very nice, very green, very quiet, but very conservative kind of place, kind of an odd place. And, and we have this big building here with has a gurdwara that's always, we use it every day. The guru is always there. And we have a yoga teaching room downstairs, and then we have now a guest house next to it with rooms for people to stay. So if people want to come and study music or study Gurbani, Gurmukhi, yoga, Gatka, what's that?
My friend is a guitar builder, and he is also joining. He's now walking away, but he asked, are there, how do you say that? Bouwtekeningen, building, construction. How do you say that? Construction plans for the instrument. Here's me.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's the original way of making them is there's only a few people that know it. There's some in Afghanistan. There's different style of rabab. Afghanistan has a certain type. Pakistan has a kind of type, and then northern Punjab in India, there's even a type of rabab that Guru Nanak designed. Once he was done with his travel and everything, he also designed a special rabab. So there's different versions of it around, and there's craftsmen who still know how to make them. And so I have a contact with someone in Amritsar who can order them. He orders them from Pakistan, and they get shipped over. So there are people that make them, but there's no one in the West making them. They're basically a solid piece of mulberry wood. That's how they're constructed. It's one solid piece carved out of quite a heavy wood. And that's where they get their resonance from. So it's a special, kind of a special thing, hard to get. And like I say, they don't come like perfect. Everyone is handmade, so they're all different. Yeah. So it's a fun. I mean, it's
Wow, interesting. It really resonates with me. I tried for years to play the harp.
Okay.
But it was too complex for me. But I loved it so very much. But it was too it was really too complex.
The harp is like a piano, and basically there's all the chords and things that you can learn on it.
I loved it.
But the harp is you can't see it the way you can see a keyboard is right in front of you, but the harp is like this. So it's I know I had a friend who learned the harp, and it's not the easiest of instruments.
Yeah, so then I quit and I sold it. But now but there is still a kind of love with these string instruments.
Yes.
I feel attached to, so it's really, well, I heard you playing and it was in my belly, so I thought, oh, this is going somewhere.
Well,
yeah.
If you're ever interested, I know where to get them.
Yes, yes. Well, I saw my friend is already on the internet
Okay.
looking. But that's of course, because he builds classical guitars, so he's
well, guitar is a great instrument, so I really respect people who build them. It's one thing maybe if I regret anything, it's I didn't learn instrument making, because I think that's such a great art. But
you're never too young to learn, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But guitar is a great instrument too. I mean, I love guitar still, and there's many kinds. I play many different types and tunings, and
Great.
But I can really recommend. I've been to the place where Mata Mandir is staying now. It's the ashram of Sadhana Singh, and it's the Guru Ramdas Academy.
Yeah.
It's really, they also organize different events. They have Gatka, they have sadhana every day. They have like the Sangha days to coming together. It's in a rural area, and it's not so far from Holland. It's a little drive, but
it's like
nice.
5 hours, 6 hour drive, I think.
Yeah, but the vibe is really beautiful. So and they do you do sadhana online every day, right? Through Zoom as well.
Yes. Yeah, it's a German group. We don't always stream it from here. There's other teachers who teach it from their house. Started during the lockdown, of course, when people couldn't travel and couldn't do sadhana with each other. So they started this whole Zoom group. So there's still about 20, 25 people sometime in the morning that come on. But it's all in German, of course, except on Sundays. Then it's done in English, and it's the international
Done by
sadhana.
Mata Mandir.
Yes.
And
so I actually wanted to get City Sant, head of 3HO in Europe, to put it out to everybody that on Sunday we have this international sadhana done in English if they want to, and I play the music also, so it's a fun.
Yeah, you start at 5, right?
Yeah, it starts at 5 our time here. Central European time.
Yeah. I will put the links in the description. I'll try to find it, and
nice.
Yeah, I really love talking to you and learning more, and
no, it's great. There's nothing I like better than to do vichar, to talk about the teaching, discuss it, and share. Share what we know.
I can really feel that it's so deep within you. This is so what makes it so valuable. It's not like it's not theoretical. You have really lived through it.
Yeah, I mean, there's theory to it. There's all aspects of it. The intellect's involved, but there's also
a lot of practice.
Just to go into the sound. That's what I recommend. Just go into the sound.
And did you write your book? Did you finish it?
Yeah, it's done. It's an ebook on Amazon. Yeah, I forgot to mention it. It's called Nad Yoga, the Yoga of Sound. And it's only an ebook at the moment. I'm trying to get some printed for the summer. I probably won't get it done, but you can download it and read it, or read it on a Kindle or whatever.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, but probably you have heard his music, because you have made, I don't know how many CDs, and of course now it's all online, but you have
made a lot of music.
All the mantras, I think, and so many Shabbat and so many paris. You put on music. You also put the whole Japji on music. You put the whole.
Most of it's up there on Spotify. If you look me up on Spotify, it's a lot of albums up there. Yeah.
So it's an amazing gift you leave to the world.
Yeah, that's a gift I was given. So if I don't share it, I'm some kind of idiot.
Right. Yeah.
Everybody is like that. Everybody has a special gift to bring to the world.
Yeah, definitely.
finding that is that's the most important moment of your life, is when you find why you were here, why you were put here.
Yeah.
Very important.
Yeah. Thank you. If you don't have any more questions, let's close with 3 times Sadhana.
Good.
And a big heart and a big much love to you, and thank you so much.
Vaheguru.
Exhale. And inhale for Sadhana. Satnam.
Satnam, folks.
Thank you.
Vaheguru. Have a good night.
Have a good night and beautiful day.
Vaheguru.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Thanks a